So we've been talking about PFL and its issues on this channel for a while now, but now the fighters themselves are coming out and saying it's a total mess. Firstly, I want to get into what Patricio Pitbull said, which hardcores will know. He's a long-time, top-level Bellator fighter. Fought Michael Chandler numerous times. He's one of the top guys in that promotion. Feel free to pause the video or go to his Twitter/X account to read it all individually. So he's not been able to get a fight. One of their top guys, mind you. They're on Bellator pay and he's at the tail end of his career. This is like work cutting your hours right before you're getting close to retirement. Even worse is they're booking him fights and then scheduling that opponent against someone else, burning money for his training camps. I'm getting the idea they're looking at the amount he's getting paid and cutting costs, as he's going to be one of the top paid guys being a veteran, so they don't book him. Because he also says that they're talking to guys on 30-30 contracts saying they're too expensive and not booking them fights. 30-30 means 30,000 a show. That means weigh in and walk into the cage, and 30,000 if you win the fight. So that's only $30,000 if you lose the fight and $60,000 if you win. This should be pennies for the second best promotion. I don't even think KSW has issues paying that out. And it's because of these insane decisions from PFL they're having issues paying fighters. They're venture capitalists. Like I showed in my prior video, Don Davis couldn't even name an MMA fight. Because firstly, buying Bellator, you have a promotion that doesn't make money, the PFL, and you buy another promotion, Bellator, that also doesn't make money either. Then instead of merging them, they run them as two separate promotions. That's just burning money. It's already showing they don't have the resources to do this. The investors of the PFL just see you go even more in the red and are saying, when's this getting profitable? And then, this one is a bit harder to say, right, as I want fighters to get the most money possible. But I think in the long run, if PFL became a true competitor, then the UFC fighters would get more money anyway. And we're here to break stories and be real, right? Francis Ngannou getting paid $8 million and his opponent $2 million. Then Francis gets to fight in boxing, so you lose that hype of the first appearance. After Francis puts on an incredible performance against Fury, they let him fight again in boxing against a different guy. Then Francis got knocked out cold. Then everyone says he got lucky against Fury, killing a ton of the hype he just built up from being anti-UFC and boxing Fury to a close decision. How is this anything else but having Francis completely hold you over the fire? While Francis really had no leverage. Every promotion openly said he's asking for too much money. Yet you got him to write in the contract he gets $8 million and his opponent $2 million, which is a good gesture from Francis, by the way. And he gets the box, a sport he's not as good in. That first pay-per-view the PFL got, Francis Ngannou versus Helen Ferreira, got 10,000 buys. Then Francis just runs through him, making the PFL look like cans. What a huge loss. Just to be realistic for what Francis draws, he's probably worth 500k and his opponent 50k. That would be nice, and taking into account the social media promotion after. Because you're still probably losing money on the event. I can feel less bad about saying this, since the Saudis gave Francis a bag for life anyway. It's hard to say, but we're here to give the facts about situations. Going back to Pitbull's post, he talks about how he can't even get 2 fights a year. Some fighters haven't even fought this year. These are problems that only happened after the PFL bought it. Then the complaint about how on social media the top brass are offering social media personalities such as Jake Paul and semi-retired fighters. I think he's talking about John Jones, who is semi-retired at this point, tens of millions of dollars. Which must be frustrating. PFL promotes itself as for the fighters, unlike the UFC. But the UFC does not have these sorts of problems. Now they will put you on ice if you're Conor McGregor trying to fight out your contract, but 99% of fighters have no trouble getting fights and having events cancelled. You can fight every month if you're a Kevin Holland. Then to finish off, he talks about being worried about Bellator and MMA in general. Which is worrying. The UFC is quickly becoming the one and only option. ONE FC is out of the MMA game now, pretty much. Guys are getting cut and getting pay cuts because it's too expensive. Really making you wonder, where's the long-term thinking in buying Bellator if you cannot afford it? Okay, further on, Patchy Mix is venting his frustrations. Training for nothing, not getting fights in his prime, had his scheduled fight cancelled. Now he's off the January fight card. This is Bellator's top talent for crying out loud. Now Leandro Higo, 2 fight cancellations in a row, no idea what's going on. Cody Anderson, the same thing, and this one is one of the most surprising. He was a top UFC talent, one of Bellator's best signings, a top level guy in his prime. He's dealing with cancellations and has no idea when he can even get a bout. Matt Brown is even going off on the PFL, and he's not even a PFL fighter. It's just that frustrating seeing them waste fighters' careers. And he brings up there's a fight night coming up this weekend that nobody even knows about. The train's going to fall off, and that's true. You can watch that interview with David Martin of MMA Fighting. There's also simple things you can do to promote the fights. Like most MMA fans, use their MMA subreddit and Twitter. That's a very simple way of promo, and how ONE FC got so much steam. But I haven't seen it, and I'm a hardcore MMA fan, so it's obvious they're going to run out of money sooner or later. I think the best thing to do is just do a merger. Instead of having guys on ice, just take the fighters you want and make them PFL fighters. Just let the ones you don't want go to the UFC or some other promotion. To end this, I'd like to point out what the boxing promoter Frank Warren said about Barry Hearn, who's Eddie Hearn's father, who promotes guys like Anthony Joshua and Devin Haney. Barry Hearn was a banker who randomly found his way into promoting Chris Eubank. Frank Warren said he's not a boxing man, and that'll fail him. When the going gets tough, he's out of boxing. Being a businessman, or a banker in this case, is good when it comes to balancing numbers, but once it goes in the red and you need to take gambles, spend money to get back on top, you'll leave. And that's exactly what happened. He was out when it got tough. This is what I think about these capitalists coming into MMA now who aren't in it for the passion. You're a numbers guy. Dana White and previously the Fertitta brothers are what made the UFC. UFC has gone visibly downhill after its sale to Ari Emanuel and Endeavour, but it's still a machine. This is all. I hope we get a true UFC competitor. I think the UFC needs a true competitor now. It's better for the fighters when they're negotiating contracts. It's better for the fans to be able to watch other events when a mid-fight card is on. First in the UFC to give us better fight cards. This can be saved, but they need to actually bring in someone who's a fight promoter, who's actually a fan. Name their favourite MMA fight at least. Anyway, I'm off now. Feel free to tell me your thoughts in the comments below.